Montero Hill, also known as Lil Nas X, released Old Town Road on SoundCloud and began pushing it on social media. But the 19-year-old didn't anticipate it taking off the way it did.
So we walked out to Old Town Road by Lil Nas X to celebrate the fact that it has just broken the record for the longest running #1 hit on Billboard's Hot 100.
To me, I'm like, it's an undeniable country song.
But then when you get to those drums and the way those 808s hit and the way, like, that's hip hop.
I got the horses in the bag, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match.
There's like a little bit of a twang in it, but then there's also a beat underneath it, so people didn't really know what to do with it in that way.
Artists are inherently complex. They want to experiment. They want to, push the boundaries of their voices, of their styles.
So, when do we call it hip-hop? And when does it become something else entirely?
Where rap going is back to the street.
Hopefully it goes back to the street and don't get caught up in a bunch of commercial, politics. It's going to cross over and then you're going to see rap no more.
As artists continue to evolve their music, being defined by a genre is becoming irrelevant. Why are we still using these seemingly archaic categories? And what does that mean for the future of hip-hop music?
I'm D.M.C. Pongo, and this is Meaning in Music.
Even though there's a long history of hip-hop colliding with other genres, the music industry still has some trouble allowing certain artists to step out of their perceived boxes.
If you let Miley Cyrus and Post Malone oscillate between hip-hop and pop and rock and country, why can't Lil Nas X do the same thing?
When the song started jumping onto the charts, that's when things started to get tricky.
Soon, the song was removed from the country chart. Billboard citing that while it, quote, incorporates references to country and cowboy imagery, it does not embrace enough elements of today's country music to chart in its current version. This moment set off heated debates online.
You look at country artists who are 100% considered country artists. When they make a song that has a beat under it, no one is like, are you a rap artist? But if a rap artist makes a song that sounds like a country song and it has a beat, then everyone's like, ooh, we're not sure, we don't know.
It was like, clearly, you guys are racist, this institution is racist.
So he said, cool, I'm gonna get Billy Ray Cyrus, I'm gonna go get y'all country god, and he's gonna jump on this record with me, and now you're not gonna have no choice. Like, this thing is changing, so you can accept me on your charts or not, but when it goes down in the history books, people will remember this as a country song.
I just always felt like hip hop and country music was about storytelling. They're very heartfelt genres and they're attached to pain in a lot of the storytelling. So there's a lot of similarities between hip hop and country music to begin with.
Though often unattributed, country and rock and roll have deep roots in Black history. The banjo, a key instrument in traditional country music, can be traced back to West African stringed instruments like the lute. Otis Blackwell and Sister Rosetta Tharpe had a major influence on some of America's most beloved artists. And Chuck Berry, who combined rhythm and blues with country, became known as the father of rock and roll.
Rock and roll is Black music. It's just a fact. Of course, Run DMC was listening to rock and roll. That's why I'm the king of rock.
There is none higher. Sucker MCs should call me sire. To burn my kingdom, you must choose fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire.
He knew what the hell he was doing. He knew what he was listening to, but he just presented it in a different way. But Run DMC were rock stars.
Music is already moving up into replacing rock and roll at this point.
That's right. Not only that, but rap is rock and roll. You know why? Because we be rocking as we rolling, boy.
Like rock and roll, hip-hop is an amalgamation of different traditions and techniques, so it only makes sense that the two would find a synergy.
It was hard for people to accept hip-hop. Critics and media used to say it was a fad, it wasn't gonna last. And that collaboration between Aerosmith and Run DMC did a lot for opening the world's eyes up to the potential of hip-hop. I think by the time we get to Jay-Z and Linkin Park, Collision Course, which was a mashup of their biggest records, it wasn't that Jay-Z needed Linkin Park. It actually maybe lended more credibility to Linkin Park at that point. The tables had turned a bit, but what it really did was bring people together. You know what I'm saying? So it makes the tours bigger. It opens up the fan base. It was clear this was the driving force of youth culture in America and the world.
Today, artists are producing entire albums that defy categorization.
When you look at someone like a Rico Nasty, who makes music that sounds very punk influenced, same with Playboi Carti or Lil Uzi Vert, Travis Scott, they all consider themselves rock stars in a way, and they are all heavily influenced by all of these other genres in their rap. When you look at Playboi Carti's album, Whole Lotta Red, he's billed as a rapper, but that was not a rap album. He's not really rapping on it. There's a lot of punk influence, there's a lot of rock influence.
On Wikipedia alone, hip-hop appears to have dozens of microgenres, not to mention countless international scenes and fusions. There's more melodic rap, where artists are less lyrically verbose and rely heavily on autotune, like this track by Future.
Love is just a word, it don't matter to me. I got so written that it matters to me.
Or harder trap music, which includes variation like drill. And within that is Chicago drill, Brooklyn drill, UK drill. And then there's Latin trap, funk, and tread. And even still, music labels and award shows tend to limit artists to a single category.
Tyler, the Creator, is a perfect example of this. His album Igor, which was not a hip hop album, honestly. And I think it was nominated in a hip hop category or in like an urban category.
And it was lauded as an amazing rap album. That album is not rap, right? There's so many different elements to it that people just don't know what to do with it, and they go, oh, he's black, put it as rap.
He was singing, it was very experimental.
Can we be friends? Are we still friends? I've got to know.
For an album with very little rapping, Tyler, the Creator, won a Grammy for Best Rap Album, but he wasn't exactly thrilled.
It sucks that whenever we, and I mean guys that look like me, do anything that's genre bending or that's anything, they always put it in a rap or urban category, which is, and I don't like that urban word. It's just a politically correct way to say the N-word to me.
When Tyler wants to make a rap album, you know it's a rap album. You know what I'm saying? When he wants to make Igor, you know it's in the pop lane or alternative or however you want to classify it. I think as an artist, he should be able to classify himself.
It doesn't make sense to me that we're calling what Lil Uzi Vert does the same genre as Public Enemy, you know? You look at rock and roll and people aren't putting Green Day next to Led Zeppelin. Hip hop is the only one where everything has to be under this one same umbrella, and that's where I think much of the confusion comes from. Down south, they've created whole new genres.
From me growing up as a kid, you would have different samples coming from all type of different sounds or different, beats used to create the sound of hip hop. A lot of times people, when they want to hear a Frida song, they expect strictly bounce. But I have experimented, with hip hop, with pop, with a little gospel.
Big Frida is an artist from New Orleans who's often referred to as the Queen of Bounce, or as she likes to say,
Big Frida, the Queen Diva.
Bounce music is considered a variation of hip hop, but it has its own distinct sound and culture.
I describe bounce music as up-tempo, heavy bass call and respond type music. It has a lot to deal with shaking of the ass and moving of the body parts. It's full of energy, it's full of life, it's repetitive, and it differs from, all other music in hip hop because the formulas that we use to make the beat.
Like Frida's classic hit, Gin in My System.
Do it for you. Shake, 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 shake it for you. Shake it for you. Work, 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 work it for you. Work it for you. Clap it for you. Clap it for you. Shake it for you.
The key elements, the trigger man, the cheeky black claps, the brown beat, all of the essentials that you need to even start to make a bounce beat from scratch.
Artists labeled as hip-hop or rap have been blending sounds and blurring genres for decades. And today, it's even harder to categorize them due to new technology and social media.
There are so many different genres of music, and you can access them through your phone. There's less need for gatekeepers now because someone can blow up and be the biggest artist in the world with no record deal, without ever winning any awards at an award show. And they're still huge online. They still have huge fan bases.
But this departure from being defined by a single genre is also the general evolution of most artists.
I make hip-hop music primarily, but I make all types of music though. House music, I've made rock music, soul music. Hip-hop was not the first music that I started listening to and I really fell in love with, and it was not the last.
You shouldn't be limited by these boxes. Genre is really just a way to market music to the consumer.
So if hip-hop is diverging and continues to experiment with different sounds, when does it stop being hip-hop altogether?
If you're from a certain generation, as hip-hop evolves, you may start to feel like it loses the essence that it had when you were a kid.
There's this balance, right, of respecting what hip-hop used to be while acknowledging that it's not there anymore. I don't want to hear Sugar Hill Gang, but I respect that Big Daddy Kane informed Jay-Z, and Jay-Z is my favorite MC. So it's like, you just respect the tree as much as you respect the branch, that comes from it.
But I think if you're hip-hop, you know hip-hop when you hear it. It's an attitude. It might be harder for corporate America to define it, or for the uninitiated or the untrained ear. But you could hear someone be like, nah, that's some hip hop.
So I think 10 years from now, hip hop is going to sound wildly different than it does now. I would like to think that it will sound very different and be very experimental, but I think that there has to be a balance between experimenting with new sounds and making sure that we protect the ethos and the essence of what it is.
People are still experimenting and changing the sound, and what could they do different to make their music different from back in the day?
I think the culture's changing, I think the music is changing, and I think the institutions have to change with it, and the institutions aren't changing quick enough.